Whenever you're ready.
Can I ask a question prior to beginning? So I know that last time that I spoke here, issue was taken about halfway through because it was deemed that I might be off topic. And I've seen that happen to a few other delegates too since that time. I guess that was 2 times ago when I spoke here. So has this board had the opportunity to review what I submitted as far as what I intend to speak to today? Because I'm not entirely convinced that the title that was put on this delegation is fully representative of what I intend to cover. And I don't want to end up with any issues where that's going to be cut off halfway through.
Just a moment.
Yeah, you put the beginning, but there's 3 paragraphs after, which is fine. I just want to make sure that you've had a chance.
Just a minute. Yep. One second. Sorry, having computer issues. 1 second. Okay. I've had a chance to review what you've written in your delegation, and so the summary is what is on the agenda. The first line of the summary of the issue is what was put on the agenda.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Waterloo District School Board trustees. This evening, I wish to speak to the hate and disrespect that is proliferating in school boards across Ontario, including WRDSB. We have seen this occur in the classroom, in board meetings, and especially on social media. This is occurring from voices on both extremes of our identity politics divide. Last week, I spoke at Halton District School Board about changes to their health and safety schools policy. Safe and healthy schools policy. They've made the modest change of adding the maintenance of psychological health as a driving principle of their policy. I think that this is a prudent change, given our current divisive climate, and all too often, we've behaved as though physical harm are the determiners of what creates an unsafe or unhealthy environment. Psychological and mental health is just as important, but maintaining this is complicated, and creating safe psychological environments requires approaching the topic with a nuance that isn't required when addressing our brick and mortar infrastructure. In the physical world, we create safety by mitigating hazards. Sharp objects, explosive materials, lay down mats so scrapes and bumps are not so severe. We've gotten pretty good at mitigating physical risk, so it's an appropriate time to start thinking about psychological health as well. And I truly believe that in this room, every teacher and administrator in WRDSB wants to foster safe and healthy environments for our children. Are we not all spending our evenings here precisely because of our commitment to our children? But creating safer psychological environments means creating positive, enriching, and open environments across the entire organization. It means creating havens where our students can feel supported and protected. To do that, our teachers need to feel supported and protected. And to do that, our administrators need to feel the same. It moves up the chain, and it can't just happen in the classroom. Simon Sinek argued persuasively in his book, Eaters Eat Last, that individuals thrive when they're safe and secure. When you're certain you've got your cover from those above you in your social structure, you can thrive because you don't have to watch your back. This board is at the top of the WRDSB organization. Is this a safe and healthy environment in this boardroom? That is what I wish to speak to you about tonight. This board is more impregnable than we've seen in recent memory. In the previous WRDSB board meeting, Trustee Piakowski identified that we have a divided community with disparate visions for our school board, and I couldn't agree more with his observation. The division we see is unfortunate and not unlike what we see with other levels of government, and it affects students, teachers, and families across our community. As an active community member and frequent delegate, I hear from lots of upset parents, and I know you each regularly hear from them as well. But isn't that the problem? We are now so divided that no one gets to hear the entire story. Parents know which trustees to contact based on their perspective and ideological issues. Each of you have spoken with plenty of parents who have strengthened your resolve on your side. How many of you have spoken to parents who represent the other side? Because I can assure you they exist as well. We are losing our ability to even engage in discourse about complex ideas, and we've seen this across the province. Last Friday, I was in Ottawa, where hundreds of individuals gathered in front of 2 high schools to protest transgender rights and/or gender ideology. And I have to say both of those because the 2 factions are not even in agreement on what they disagree upon. That is how divided we've become. As we move deeper into our respective positions, individuals on both sides are becoming increasingly rigid in their respective ideological thinking. I have spent the past 8 months attempting, with limited success to be quite honest, to connect with individuals on both sides of our divide. But we have all become so quick to judge and so attuned to reading each other's ideological positions so that we know if someone is with us or against us, that it is almost impossible to speak publicly before this board without being shoehorned into an ideological bubble. It took only one delegation in front of you before I earned the nickname of coffee chat fascist from one of my detractors. I'd like to share with you my experience the first time I delegated in front of this board. Don't worry, I will not be naming any particular individuals. I spoke about the importance of establishing inclusive environments for gender diverse students, and also whether we are crossing the line from inclusivity into promotion. You and your community didn't know me well then, so I hadn't yet been ideologically typecasted. Following the meeting, a number of trustees thanked me and told me my message was exactly what they felt the other side needed to hear. I was encouraged that you all liked my message, though discouraged that it showed that there's a deep division on this board and that our trustees are fixated on whether a delegate speaks with them or against their ideological positioning. I was also saddened because it was clear that almost every trustee agreed with the core message I was sharing, but didn't realize that other trustees agreed as well. Perhaps there's more agreement across this board than we know. Perhaps there are more workable solutions that are not so out of reach. One trustee in particular told me that my message was exactly what the transphobic trustees needed to hear. That stuck with me because I don't find any of you to be transphobic. I gently pushed back and pointed this out, and the response I received was, well, I've never really spoken to them before. That's just what I've been told. But by the time I made my second delegation, I had been ideologically typecasted and was treated as a hostile witness during question period. I knew this typecasting had already been made because I received social media harassment the week prior from those who deemed me against their faction. This now happens every time I speak, including this past weekend and today. Interestingly, despite the constant narrative that delegates have made about our out-of-control LGBT hate, my transgender identity is the one aspect that never gets touched in the harassment that I receive. But hate and disrespect are alive and well, and I've even received disparaging comments from a few individuals who have been welcomed as delegates to speak before this board. I certainly don't wish to suggest that I'm the only one who receives disparaging comments online for participating in school board processes. Our trustees have received valid comments, as has our student trustees, as has the director of education, as have other delegates, some of whom hold positions that I don't agree with. This is not a one-sided problem, though many are content to pretend that it is only the other side that's causing issue. Are we okay with this? Is this now the initiation process we must be subjected to in order to speak about your child's education? It's becoming a downright risky proposition to speak in front of this board at all. I talked to many parents who are terrified to do it, and I completely understand why. After a delegation I delivered a few months ago, a local individual who serves on one of your WRDS committees went after me publicly and tried to have me kicked off the local board on which I serve. To this individual, my posture towards social transition deserves me cancellation. By the end of that week, I had issued a demand letter to Rogers Media to correct blatant defamation they had published, and an apology towards my family now sits in place of their defamatory article. 2 trustees came to my support through this scary experience, but the board at large remained silent. That is a very tangible example of why people are reticent to delegate to this board. In a safe and healthy environment, there needs to always be space for disagreement, and there should never be tolerance for harassment and abuse. Why is this where we stand? And why is fixing this not the paramount concern of each and every trustee at this table? If your constituents can't address this board out of fear of what will become of them and their family, then you have failed to create a safe environment. I don't know how to fix this. This is well beyond anything I can recommend, but I believe students must start with the leadership of this board. In the present, there's an audience on both sides, including myself, who treat these meetings as a reality TV show. It's generally not a great sign when you've got an engaged school board audience. Wouldn't board cohesion be a wonderful improvement? The board that functions best in this province are the boards that have workable relationships between trustees, even when they don't agree. This board's had that in the past, but it doesn't have it anymore. You have an incredible opportunity to take the time to get to know each other on friendlier terms so that you're not stuck considering your colleagues in the worst of terms. None of you are transphobic. I have already vetted you all. Go get a coffee together or something and get to know each other a bit. The last thing I want to say is you have an opportunity ahead of you to fill 2 trustee vacancies. Show us that you can find candidates who bridge the gap between this divide and can support this board in functioning better together rather than deepening the partisan divide we are all experiencing. This divide helps no one, especially our children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, are there any questions of clarification? Seeing Trustee Watson.
Thank you. I don't have a question of clarification, but if we could have that presentation that we could all reread it over, that would be great.
To trustees?
Yes.
Okay, can you provide that to Ms. Rydell?
Your message.
Your delegation to Ms. Rydell?
Yeah, through the chair to the delegate, or to the trustee and the delegate. Yes, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. There are no other questions. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Mallot.